Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to my talk. I am associated with a library called Ratatouille, and there's a tradition when it comes to my talks. I usually wear this, so give me a second. Yes, this is for sale. Contact me. I have a merch shop too if you want to buy. Okay, so we did that. I'm wearing an apron because we're gonna cook today. So, as you have seen from the title, we're gonna talk about Rust, TUIs, terminals, and some fun stuff. So let's just jump right into it. So here's me, Orhun Parmaksız. Orhun Parmaksız. I'm coming from Turkey or Turkey with a new name. I have traveled a bit to come here, and it's first time here, enjoying it so far. So yeah, I am mostly working on open source projects, writing Rust and doing some terminal tooling and libraries and stuff like that. I just like terminals. And I just want to ask you guys, how many of you actually use the terminal in your daily workflow? Okay, nice. A lot of terminal users. And how many of you actually built a terminal software? Something like a CLI app, library. Okay, cool. And yeah. And how many of you write Rust? That's very important. All right, cool. The other people can just leave. Thank you. Just kidding. Just kidding. You'll write Rust after this talk. Don't worry. And yeah, I've been, like I said, I have these projects. I'll talk about them. Don't worry. These two ones are just the other stuff, but mostly command line tools. You can look them up on my GitHub. My website is Orhun Dev, and I do packaging for Arch Linux as well. Something like, I just package your favorite Rust tools for Arch Linux if you're using Arch Linux, by the way. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel where I live stream. I've been doing these fitness challenges related to Rust compiler. That's why I'm so fit right now. Thank you, Rust. And yeah, this is my 2K subs. If you subscribe, I can reach to more subscribers, like 3K, 4K. And I'll just get injured at some point, but that's fine. So I've been doing these things, live streams, coding as well. Not just this, okay? I've been coding too. So yeah, youtube.com/orhundev. You can just subscribe. Anyways, today's talk will be basically about these goals. I'm gonna first try to familiarize you with the terminal. In case you don't know about terminal, that's totally fine. I'm just gonna give you the basics. Then we're gonna showcase some things in Rust and talk about why Rust is a great choice when it comes to building terminal tools and libraries. And I'm going to talk about some nice tools and libraries that I found and has been developed. And hopefully, I will inspire you to build things today. That's the ultimate goal. Just forget about everything else, but I just want to inspire you to do things. All right, let's talk about terminal. So um, here we are, the typical cursor, black background, text. It's really good. I'm gonna run one of my favorite terminal emulators. It's called Rio. Shout out to Brazilian people. Let's see. All right, it's really hard to navigate while I'm holding the mic, but all right. All right, there you go, a terminal. I think most of you have seen this before, but in case you don't know, I usually describe terminal as something that takes an input, let's say ls, and then just lists whatever you have. And I have shaders on, that's why it's very fancy. But like this is what a terminal is. Okay, it's not something very complex. It's actually something very basic, and this is what we are working with today. And I want you to remember anything that I showed you today is runs in the terminal. This presentation also running in the terminal. Let me exit from this. Let me also exit from Zelish. Okay, there you go. So everything is terminal. Everything is also text. And you might be asking, since like this is something very basic, why are we still using it? It's 2025. Come on, man, grow up, right? Well, terminal is actually timeless. So they're like it's been around for a long time, and it's going to be around for a long time because it's something very basic. You know, it just takes the input, output, and even though we don't see it, like it's been abstracted away by many things, it's there, and you can still use it. So yeah, it's very powerful. You can basically write scripts, automate your work. There are like endless possibilities that you can do in the terminal. And lastly, it's very efficient, so it uses very less, like low power usage, and basically you can run the terminal on a potato. So that's another plus. And I think the best way to summarize it is terminal make the machine do exactly what you want with minimal friction. So you want to run something, you just get the output directly. I will give you some examples. So sometimes I want to download files from, like download MP3 from YouTube illegally. Yeah, so I make music and like I just want to like sample something, right? I just listen to it. I'm like, this is really good. So let me just download it. And while I'm doing that, I'm usually on a Windows computer, sadly, because like the music making programs are there, whatever. I didn't make the switch yet, but I'll do it. So I'm on Windows. I don't have anything, just have the browser. So I just search for, download MP3 from YouTube, and I just get these type of things. Like I click something, I get a pop-up, I get an ad, and I click out, and then download. I try to download. I download a virus. I delete the virus. It's a mess. But if you have a terminal and this tool, it's just this easy. You just run this and get the MP3 file. Very simple. All right. Another example. You're a programmer, let's say, or you, but you wanna search text in your files. You want to just like, let's say you have a bunch of code files and you want to find something. Well, if you use a file, what do you call explorer, like a GUI thing, and you just search for it, it's probably going to take some time. So it's not very fast. But if you have a tool like this, I'm just going to run it. I'm searching for fn main in my whole GitHub cloned, Drake, like all the projects that I cloned so far. I just got all the results. You can see them here. I can also like, let's say I want to edit this, enter. I'm in my editor now. So it's very easy, thanks to this terminal tool. All right, let's exit from it. Another example, a bit more complex this time. You want to monitor your network traffic. You can use something like Wireshark, but if you use that, you end up clicking a bunch of windows, select packets, download something, analyze the packet on another program or whatever. So it takes a bit of time. But if you use something like this, which is Oryx, a network monitoring tool for the terminal, let me just run it without exposing my password, hopefully. All right. I am now monitoring all the things happening in my network and all the packets. Let me resize. And I can simply like select something here, download it as a packet, see some stats, what's going on in my computer. We have some metrics, some alerts as well. So if there's some attack going on, like something like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember, but like you can see them here, basically. I'm not a network guy, so okay. If you can have like firewall, if you block some website or something for your kid, there you go. You get the idea. All right, so the summary is terminal is the past, the present, and the future. So it's going to be around, and I advise you to at least use it for some of your like use cases. So let's talk about Rust. We saw what the terminal is and why it's very important. Let's talk about why Rust is the great, like the best choice, in my opinion, when it comes to developing the things that you have seen. Well, I can talk about like the memory safety and like, the typical, the Rust is so fast, or like Rust is very safe, and like and stuff like that. But there are like a lot of talks and a lot of resources on the internet about that, so I'm just gonna skip that part. You can just learn about Rust yourself from I don't know, Rust book, or like official resources. So I'm gonna give you some practical examples instead, because I don't want to make this boring. I just want you to get your attention. If you're new to Rust, that's going to be more effective, I think. But definitely check out like the like official resources. So, like I said, Rust is very performant, very fast, and I personally saw that while I was running some benchmarks while I was learning Zig. So Zig is another programming language. At that time, they added a HTTP client to their standard library. So I was writing a blog post. I wanted to benchmark their HTTP client, and I created some benchmarks. And I saw that Rust was competing with each other. Like these Rust Hyper, Rust Urec, and Request, those are the frameworks in Rust that are for HTTP client purposes. So they were just like fastest ones, and then Go and Zig. This was from 2 years ago, but I think this should be still the result. So, like I said, Rust is fast. When it comes to safety, you see, as Rust programmers, we usually want safety and performance at the same time. So that's what we are uh, having with Rust, basically. It's like it has a borrow checker mechanism and like all of those other concepts. I'm not gonna, like I said, just bore you with those details. Instead, I'm gonna talk about some real life case, but not like about memory safety. Since we are talking about terminals and command line, I'm gonna show you this example from an issue from 2011. So this is a script for some purpose, and you see here, this in this issue, there is this command, but there's a space here. So this script ends up deleting the user directory. And this guy was like totally uncool. My system is just gone. I needed to reinstall everything, right? This issue is still active, by the way. You can go ahead and comment. So, of course, you're not gonna do that in I hope you won't do that, but like you won't do it in like in Rust. But I was just curious, I was like, okay, what happens if I just did the same mistake? I know it's not like the best example, but it's very funny. So I tried it, and yeah, nothing happens, because like you have the signature of the function, which uses a path, and then you get like not found. Well, it, it's it's safe, like I said, at least in this case, but in other cases as well. Speaking of error messages, Rust has really great error messages, and I learned Rust by basically following the error messages. Uh, Not this one, sorry. This one. So you, okay, my story is basically I wanted to write something in Rust, and I was so lazy back then. I still am, but maybe lazier. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still lazy, and I was like, writing the code, and I didn't know about Rust, so I was getting these errors, and I was searching for them on the internet, getting some Stack Overflow results and following them to the official documentation, and that's how I basically learned Rust, and that really helped me. Well, you can see that it's just giving you like what to do, and you can follow them. This second one is more cryptic, but you'll get the point. Like it's not that hard. This is what I'm saying basically here. It has also a very great ecosystem. We have these official tooling. These are all command line tools. We have Cargo, the package manager. We have Rust Analyzer, the LSP. We have even like a tool that teaches you Rust, which is Rustlings, and there's also like more to that story. There's like a lot of third-party cargo plugins which was created by users, and I am actually maintaining all of those packages for Arch for me. But yeah, you can just see there's like more to that list, by the way. So there are like a lot of command line tools and also libraries. You can get a get the full list from this website. We have, I don't know, CLAP, a command line argument parser, with a colored library which enables you to colorize your terminal output without using NC escape codes. You have something like this, which helps you to run shell commands and like pipe the outputs together and like read them and so on. So yeah, we have a lot of libraries in Rust that helps you to build command line tools. But I have one favorite library, and actually R in Rust stands for, does anybody know this? What does R in Rust stand for, guys? Thank you. Thank you. Great. Yes, Ratatouille, that's my favorite library, of course. So we're going to talk about Ratatouille today. There you go, our logo. And Ratatouille is basically a Rust library, like I said, that's all about cooking up terminal user interfaces. Well, you might be asking, what is a terminal user interface? I'm going to run our demo. So this is the demo of Ratatouille, and this is a terminal user interface. And you can basically build things like this. You can have I don't know, a table or an interactive interface here, or a map. We have a Sparkline widget. We have a bunch of things here. You can have like progress bars, a calendar, and so on. So there are like a lot of things that you can build, and Ratatouille makes you able to build these things. Like I said, we have a bunch of them. Also, we have a widget trait. So trait is like an interface. So anything that implements this widget trait is a widget. So you can build your own widgets and you can use them in your apps. There are like a lot of other third-party widgets that you can just use in your app. We have some key concepts. I'm going to talk about rendering, layout, and event handling, but you can just get more of this from our website. We also have tutorials, some other documentation. So if you're interested, definitely check out our website. But before that, I want to show you a minimal example of what a Ratatouille application looks like. If you don't know Rust, that's fine. I'm going to just walk over this code. So firstly, we need to call Ratatouille init function. So this function gives us a terminal. This is an object that makes us able to interact with the terminal. And then we need to create a loop. Since we are rendering a UI, that's very straightforward. Then we have to draw our widgets on the terminal in the loop. So it's drawing continuously. And then we can have like a event matching logic here. For example, it reads any event, any key event to be more correct, and breaks from this loop. So you don't just like continuously stay in the TUI. And then you gotta just restore from the screen that you just went into. So when you call Ratatouille init, it will actually put you on an alternate screen because a TUI is think it as a new buffer in your terminal. When you restore it, you just go back to your previous, where your cursor is, basically. So yeah, that's a minimal example. I think tomorrow on the workshop, I will talk about this more. And if you want to like learn how to build these type of things, just join the workshop. We are actually working on simplifying this even more using a Ratatouille run method. This is not merged and this is not released yet, but we will get to that in the next release. So, okay, I talked about this loop thing, right? You might be wondering, why do we have a loop? Well, as we are actually following a principle or approach called immediate mode rendering, which is something like you have a state, let's say toggle, right, a boolean, and based on the state, you are changing your UI. So based on toggle, I can either render a bar chart widget or a line gauge widget, and that's basically immediate mode rendering. There are other approaches such as retain mode rendering. In that approach, you are rendering your UI and you have your state and you update the state and the UI changes. But in this case, we are re-rendering everything for each frame based on a state. So when it comes to layout, we have some constraints and we are using them to split the layout horizontally or vertically. In this case, you can imagine it like a horizontal split and based on these constraints. So I don't know, 10 lines or like 70% or minimum 5 lines. You can just think it as that. Also, this is very useful because you can build some dynamically changing interfaces. For example, you let's say you're rendering a list of messages, right? And based on the count of those messages, you can change the percentage of the area. So let's say you are as you get more messages, the area expands or shrinks or whatever. So you can basically do those type of things to get an idea of how constraints work, because it's a bit of a difficult concept to grasp sometimes. We have a constraint explorer demo, which you can basically play around with them. So you can like delete these things, like add more constraints. Let's say percentage 50 and delete that maybe. I don't know, length max 5. I don't know. You can just play around with these things and see how they change, and you can use them in your app. Also, we have a flex demo, which shows how different flex layouts work in different circumstances. We have other demos too. So, okay. The third concept was event handling. So we are not doing event handling in Ratatouille itself, but we have some backends that you can use because we are not a terminal manipulation library. We are a widget library. So we just want to render the UI, but you can just basically use one of these backends. They are super simple to use with Ratatouille and do some kinds of events handling like these. So there are like different strategies. But usually what you will do is just catch everything at a central place and just act based on that. But you can, if you want to go a bit fancy, you can just do event handling in each part of your application and do some stuff like that. It's up to you. Depends on your architecture as well. So yeah. Okay, so I'll just show you some examples now. I talked about the basics, and let's see what people have built. So TV is a television is a good TUI example. It's basically like telescope, but written in Rust, and you can just use to search files and see the contents of files. Very useful tool. BMM is a thermal bookmark manager. I realized I have over 3,000 bookmarks on Firefox, and I didn't even like managing them at all. So I started using this, and I imported everything from Firefox. Now I can just search for things here. I don't know, Rust, and these are the things that I bookmarked. Basically, I can, yeah, I can just like press enter to go to the website and just read about what I have bookmarked and so on. So yeah. But yeah, maybe you're saying those are not Gucci enough for me. Show me more. Like those are just thermal tools, bro. Right? So I'm just gonna show you some Gucci things then. Firstly, we have a shader-like animation library built on top of Ratatouille that you can just use to do these things in the terminal. It works very simple um, and easy to integrate with existing applications. So you can just add these animations to your Ratatouille app. You see like a bunch of things. And yeah, basically. This is another example from the library. So like I said, you render your widgets as usual, and this is like a layer on top of the rendering, and it just like adds these animations to your app. All right, so to show you an example application that uses this, I'm gonna show you this one. Hold on. All right, so this is a keyboard key binding manager app for KDE, I think. So this is, like I said, entirely running in the terminal, and the visualizations of the keyboard you can see. Yeah, you can like select blocks and it will highlight the associated key and so on. I'm gonna run it again because it looks so cool. One second, this is the old one. So yeah, you can basically like have these loading animations for your apps now. Is this like necessary, you might ask? Yeah, let's talk about it after this talk, right? Okay, I'm gonna move on. I cannot exit. One sec. Yeah, like I said, this is the whole API for creating those animations. You basically define this animation type, like ping pong, just sweeps in and out, and then another callless animation. And you can just render it as any widget. As I told you, anything that implements the widget trait can be rendered. So you just give this to the frame render widget call, and it's being rendered. Also, they have added a DSL, so domain-specific language, so you can just parse these effects like from a file, basically, and just do other fancy stuff. There's a video. So this is their demo. You can basically have an editor. You can just write like code in there and see uh, the animations, like live debug the animations, basically, on the terminal. So yeah. All right. Okay, maybe this wasn't enough. You want to maybe use your GPU? Sure, you can just use your GPU and have shaders in Ratatouille apps. So this is the demo. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like glowing or something. You know, it's like moving and stuff like that. And this is another one. These are just shaders that are being imported from a file and being run. And this is their demo. So basically, you can edit the shader and see the changes real time. I'll try something here. Okay, that just made it worse, but you get the idea. You can just like run any shader, like import it like that. It uses vGPU and just render it as any other widget and just renders. So that's also possible now. Okay, this is my project. So I wanted to build a website, but I didn't want to like do it on HTML and CSS. So I was like, maybe I can just use Ratatouille for it. So I created Ratzilla, and it uses WebAssembly and Ratatouille. So you write Rust, like you just write the Ratatouille code, same code, and it renders in the browser. So yeah, basically this is the demo of Ratatouille running in the browser itself. So yeah, oops. There's another example website that was built with Ratzilla. So it's called Kuzister. It's for calculating the resistor values. This is quite useful. So like I said, this is a TUI aesthetic running entirely on the browser. You can just select things. And also the same thing runs in the terminal. So we're now, I don't know what it's called, like multi-platform. library now. So yeah, the I designed this the designed the API of Ratsula as close to as close to as possibly close to the Ratatouille one. So it's basically like the same API with some closures and so on. So if you have an existing Ratatouille app, it's very simple to just port it to web. You basically define the terminal and call on key event, which give you some keys, and you just handle the key events there, and you just call draw web function instead of draw, and it will give you the frame, and the frame you can just like render whatever. They can just like do a bunch of things there. I'm using TechUnFX, the first animation library that I showed you in on the web, so it works there as well. So yeah, if you're using like Bevy, if you're doing like game development, you might have heard Bevy, Rust library. You can also run it using run it in the terminal using this project. So it basically looks like this. You can just render 2D or 3D things using Bevy and Ratatouille. I'm not going to run the example because it's going to take some time. But basically, it's looking like this. And I was at Rust Meet in Poland last week. I think they gave us this ESP32s, and they were just doing some voting on them. You can just select like a bunch of options. They made a quiz on this device. It's very small. So during the whole event, I was thinking of, what if we put Ratatouille on this, right? That would be super cool, right? So after the event, somebody actually made it. So you can now render Ratatouille widgets on embedded devices. So this is from their demo. It's called Mouse Food. It recently came out, and you can basically like render any Ratatouille widget on this ESP32. And we have a demo here. Just today, they actually built an oscillator. Oops, I cannot. Oh, what is going on? Oh, there you go. So they have an oscillator now. Like they built it just today, and yeah, it's rendered using SSU. It just went away. I'm just run it again. There you go. It's just moving based on the voltage. So we are very excited where this is going because this slide was not in the presentation today. So yesterday, I mean. So it's very exciting. All right. Honorable mention. There was a new Rust 2E framework. This is a separate project from Ratatouille. It's called Yeehaw, and it is just something else. I just want to mention it in my talk because, I mean, just look at this. Hopefully it will run. Maybe I can just show you on the browser. Yeehaw. Okay, there you go. It's running now. So this is the demo of this library, and just remember this is running in the terminal. But like you can create windows in the terminal. You can just move them around with your mouse. Um, like yeah, and you can like, just click around. This is not a terminal anymore. And they have a bunch of widgets. You can just click stuff. Yeah, they have an editor widget. You can just like start typing here. Yeah, you have a terminal inside terminal. There you go. You can just render images. That's not exciting anymore, but yeah, yeah, you can render images. And yeah, I mean, no words for this. I don't know what's going on. There's do not click me here. I'm just gonna click it. All right. Okay, so what's the future? I don't know, but let's talk about it. We basically shape our tools, and then they shape us. So they change how we think, behave, and perceive the world. So I think we should choose them wisely. And I think Rust is a great choice because of the reasons that I just show you and the cool libraries and everything. And in this section of the talk, I'm gonna actually show you the apps that has been built using these libraries, because so far I showed you the libraries and the examples of them. But what is out there that we can already use, right? I just wanted to first thank Presenterm project for making all of this presentation possible. I'm basically using Presenterm for all of my presentations these days, and it's basically a markdown file. So there you go. This is the source of my presentation, and I'm just giving it to Presenterm, and you can just like, add images, run commands, and it looks like this. So yeah, that's the first one. Um, so whenever I'm debugging some performance issue or something like that, I am using flame graphs, and they are very annoying, I think. Debugging them is like a pain. So I discovered Flamelands. This is a TUI project which can be used for any project, but it has a good integration with Cargo Flame Graph. Rust devs will like this one. So basically, this command is running um, some command, creating a flame graph, and giving it to Flamelands. Let's see. So now running the script. Hopefully, it won't take much time. Okay. And in your terminal, you can basically like go around in the flame graph and find out what's taking more resources and so on. So let's see. You just go in there. There's this call. There's this call, and so on. So it made my life really easy, because before that I was just like having a SVG file, give it on a browser, click, 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 click. There's not that anymore in my life, which I'm very happy about. And yeah, you can also like have this summary of what has happened during the runtime and so on. So yeah, I definitely recommend it if you're doing flame graphs and trying to find bottlenecks in your application. I'm not using Signal Desktop anymore, thanks to this. Um, Not very exciting. It's actually pretty good. I'm just using this on my computer because Signal Desktop is Electron. It's slow. Okay, AI people, you might like this. So this is a nice project called Quack, and it's basically for having a chat GPT like prompt for your code base. So you can run an LLM and just, it's particularly for your code base, and you can just perform some operations in the terminal. You can get code completions. You can create PRs. Do a bunch of actions from the terminal by just chatting with this program, this TUI. Okay, I didn't want to skip the fun part, so we have a game. Sometimes at 3 a.m. I just run this on my terminal. Hopefully it will connect. Oh, there you go. Okay, this is the game. You're basically this little block. You're trying to like find your way into this infinite maze. And yeah, there are like other people. You can just play with me if you just connect to this SSH server, and you try to like avoid some minotaurs in this maze, and it's very fun. And there are like a lot of other SSH games like this. Shout out to Recode1 for his work on these games. There's no more slides, by the way. This is the end of the presentation. I'm just gonna play this for 15 minutes. But yeah, you get the idea. And this is a music project that uses a TUI for visualizing what's going on. So I'm going to run the demo. 1 second, running. So yeah, I'm hearing myself. Basically, what is happening here is This guy built his own musical equipment. I think it's, I don't know what it is. It's very impressive, and he's basically like visualizing what's going on the on this hardware on a TUI, and I cannot play it right now because I will hear myself, but maybe I can try this. You see, like it's just visualizing the output in the terminal. So yeah, there are some honorable mentions. If you are interested in like bigger projects, because these projects that I showed you was like fun and hobby projects that are very useful, but there are actually like very big ones in the Rust ecosystem when it comes to command line and terminals. We have Zelish. Anybody using Zelish? It's a terminal multiplexer, like it's a Tmux but on steroids. We have new shell. Anybody using new shell? There you go, my man. Starship, it's a prompt. You can just customize your prompt using this. There's Autoin for your shell history, and there's Helix editor. Anybody using Helix? Nice. Uh, hmm? By the way, yes, thank you. So yeah, like there's like even more projects, and Fish Shell has been actually rewritten in Rust, so they are joining the Rust train. It's very exciting. Anybody using Fish? Nice. You're very very cool, man. Anyways, so what are the takeaways from this talk, right? I used to say reject modernity and embrace the terminal, and I realized that's not really correct because terminal is now very modern. So let's make the terminal modern again. That's a better slogan. And terminal ecosystem is growing with Rust. Like I showed you, there are like bunch of things happening, and there are many things that does not exist yet. So I encourage you to actually go ahead and build things. Start from somewhere. Build your favorite, like I don't know, build your dream tool basically. If you need ideas, we have a issue in Ratatouille that people post their uh, wishes, and maybe somebody will see them and maybe they will build it, or maybe you have the same wish as somebody else. You can just upvote that comment so that we will know that it's very high in demand and so on. So definitely check this link if you're interested, and yeah, just contribute and build things basically. When it comes to building things, I recommend just running this command in your terminal. If you have cargo generate installed, this will give you a Ratatouille template, so you can just start building from there. You don't have to write things from scratch. It will. There are like multiple templates in there, so if you want to use async, we have an async template, for example. If you want to use the like a component architecture, we have a component template. So you can just run this and start building things. And when it comes to contributing, I think that part is very important because more and more open source projects going unmaintained, or you see this type of issues every now and then. This is from the Ring crate. It's a crypto, not that type of crypto, but the actual crypto. No, I'm kidding. Uh, yeah, not the cryptographic library. Crypto, yeah, whatever. So it's been like it's very crucial in the Rust ecosystem, right? And they just said that they need a break, and some other people stepped up and took the maintenance of it, luckily. But this is happening more common than you think. So I actually recommend you to actually check your dependencies and at least see how they are doing, or maybe if you feel like you can just take responsibility, contribute back in any way, code, um, ideas, money. You don't have to, but just saying. So just be aware of these issues. Uh, this is what this is how Ratatouille was born. Ratatouille was 2ERS before. It was created by Florian. Huge shout out to him. And at some point, he said that he he cannot like work on it anymore because he's been too busy, and he wanted to create a community around it. He was looking for maintainers, so me and other interested people, we basically wanted to create a community. So we just rebranded as Ratatouille, and this is how we came so far. And you or your team or whoever can also do the same. It's just a matter of putting some time into it and just taking care of open source. Okay, one last very interesting thing. Terminals are also evolving. So there was this issue in the Kitty terminal. Anybody using Kitty terminal here? So Kitty added this new protocol which allows you to um, have different size of text in the terminal. So they basically are now parsing this NC escape code as this, basically. Oops, what something happened. Exit. Okay, so these are like now supported. Like you can have like different size of text, and this makes these mathematical, like the visualization of these mathematical operations easier because you can have uh, like different sizes of text, and a lot of these things happen in the terminal space, and usually you don't know about them because you're not following them, or uh, I don't know. There isn't like a central place for discussion. I realized, so I created terminalcollective.org with the maintainer of Zelish, and we basically the first idea was to have some meetups, but this is kind of far in the future these days. But we actually have very interested, like talented people in this group. We have a website that was built with Ratsilla, so it's using Ratatouille. I hope it works okay. There you go. And you can just join us if you're interested in these developments, like in the terminal space. It doesn't have to be about Rust. It could be about anything about terminals. So definitely go ahead, and we might have some meetups in the future. I hope. So yeah, you might be asking, where do I start? So I'm just gonna list some resources for you. We have this really great guidelines for designing command line applications. We have the Rust CLI book if you want to build CLI tools using Rust. We have the Ratatouille tutorials and a list of apps and libraries and frameworks built with Ratatouille. So you can just get more information on these links. Lastly, I'm just gonna drop the Discord if you want to join either Ratatouille or Terminal Collective. We answer questions in Ratatouille Discord, so go ahead and join if you're interested. I see that nobody's joining. Thank you guys. Just kidding. Thank you. And yeah, I can just take questions now.
Yeah, I used to be a maintainer of Helix editor working on the TUI stuff. And I'm just curious like how well Ratatouille works on doing the partial rendering. For example, like we have one use case where we are rendering the spinner when the LSP is like loading. Then we don't want to like render the whole UI again. So like how does Ratatouille works in the partial rendering case?
So
Thanks.
you mean like you don't want to use the whole screen, but like the part of the screen?
Yes, because like we are rendering the LSP quite often. Like
Mm-hmm.
we want to do like
Yeah. So for that, we actually have a inline rendering feature. If I can go to docs.rs, I'm going to show it to you. Ratatouille. So while setting up the terminal on the first line, I showed you Ratatouille init, right? There's a more explicit way of setting up the terminal with some options. One of the options is inline, like viewport. Sorry, this viewport can be changed. So you can basically render on full screen, inline, or a fixed height of the terminal. So you can just render on a single line or like multiple lines, basically. So this is how you can achieve it.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Any other questions?
So I'm seeing quite rich elements like the image that we have here and other stuff. What is the support for running something in a normal terminal over SSH into one of these applications?
Yeah. So these first of all, these images based on whether your terminal supports the image protocol. So I'm using Vesterm for this presentation, which has a great support when it comes to rendering images and GIFs. And if your terminal does not support these protocols, you won't be able to render them. In my daily workflow, I use Alacrity, which does not support these. So I'm just using this for the presentation. For the SSH connections, there is another Rust library called Rush or RuSSH. Okay, there you go. And this is for creating command line, creating a SSH client and server. You can basically use they have a registry example. So as you can see from here, they have a SSH terminal. So basically, you can like use Rush and registry together to create command line SSH servers, which you can just connect to and just renders a TUI. You can like also render images in there because if your terminal supports it, it's gonna work there as well. So yeah, that's the project. And I was planning to add a Rush template to the Ratatouille templates, but I haven't done it yet. So it's gonna be just possible in the future to generate a SSH template too. Okay.